To be completely honest, quitting video games is actually pretty easy once you know what you're doing. So I quit video games without any help from anyone else in my life, and I'm confident that you can do the same on your own by following the advice in this video. So just to fill you in on my story, I always had the potential to be a gamer, I guess you could say. I was kind of an isolated child within my family. I was the only boy amongst a bunch of girls, and I never really had another male beside me to play with, to kind of spend my childhood with. So what I naturally turned to as I started growing up a little bit was playing video games by myself. And while I had fun with it, while I learned certain things from it, I eventually developed this kind of inner sense of gamer rage, I guess you could say, for my situation. I felt angry at myself. I felt like I had betrayed myself because I was spending so much time and so much effort, and I was sacrificing so many things like my sleep, my health, my social relationships to fuel my gaming addiction, to just devote all my time towards getting to the next level in certain games, towards getting more games, buying more consoles, just sinking all of my time and effort into expanding this beast inside of me, almost, that demanded that I play more games and that I stimulate my brain more with these games. Yeah, so that was a painful time in my life, and I became very angry and resentful at myself. So I started to become angry and resentful and impatient with others as a result of that. And it got to the point where when I started high school, I was just a very unpleasant person to be around. Just like in general, I had no interests, hobbies, basically concerns outside of gaming, and maybe just like a very, very basic sense of self survival, as it were. So yeah, I was incredibly socially isolated. I would get angry and resentful at people for getting up in my space, getting up in my business, and eventually I realized that I had to change. And when I realized that I had to change, that was a very depressing moment because I knew that I had nobody like me to turn to. I had other people my age, I had other guys that I was going to school with, that I used to be friends with, who played video games as well. I didn't play with them, but they were gamers as well, obviously, like every young teenage boy is. And my addiction was so severe, and I was so isolated that I just had nobody to reach out to. I had nobody to talk to figure out how to quit this gaming addiction that I had. Because once I realized that I was addicted and that I had to quit this gaming obsession that I had, then I became just very, very, very depressed. I became almost kind of hopeless because, yeah, like I said, I had nobody to talk to. So what I had to learn to do was to, well, first of all, ignore this rage, this anger that was building inside me that you might be experiencing right now. You've realized that quitting gaming is bad for you, and that you have to start focusing on the real things in life. You have to start leveling up in real life, but you don't have the drive to do so. You don't know where to start. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know who to turn to in order to get some practical advice. And what you have to learn to do at this point is to disregard what everyone else is telling you, because you're in a unique situation and you don't want to be like the people around you who have not completed the things that you want to do, right? Like, I hope that makes sense, because what I had to learn to do was to ignore what everyone else around me was telling me when I was talking about quitting video games and trying to level up in real life, get on self-improvement, all these things. I had to learn to ignore the other people around me who were telling me, well, why are you trying to be different than us? Why are you trying to quit gaming? 1 hour a day of gaming is healthy. This and that and the other thing, balance, whatever. And I had to learn to detach myself from everyone else because they were of no help, like absolutely no help to me. I didn't know anybody who was talking about quitting gaming. I didn't know anybody who was talking about mental health and how to improve it, how to level it up outside of certain religious practices or stuff like that. I had nobody who was basically vending me practical advice. So yeah, I had to learn to develop the skill of ignoring other people around me and basically learning to be my own coach, to coach myself through my own gaming addiction, and to basically deal with the failures and the setbacks and the shortcomings and the trials, the tribulations that would come with that, the failures that would come with trying to quit gaming, and basically learn from those and try and deal with those myself in order to get closer and closer to defeating my gaming addiction, right? So I went from leveling up in video games to trying to overcome, trying to beat the boss, I guess you could say. That was my gaming addiction. And the first step to that was detaching myself from other people, because like 90% of people are not, maybe like 99% of people honestly, are not the kind of people you should be listening to. They are people that you should be ignoring because they are not in the same situation as you. They do not understand where you come from, who you are, what your background is, and what your goals are. However, there are certain people who do, like people online, like what I'm trying to do, who understand where these young men come from, who are trying to quit gaming, and who are trying to level up in real life, and who are trying to kind of make their own place in the world outside of the structure that society set up for them, right? Who are trying to escape the matrix, or whatever you call it. This kind of script that society set up for you. People like me and other people online understand this niche, so naturally you should be listening to those people instead of just the normal people in your life who are still working shitty jobs and still trying to go from paycheck to paycheck, and who basically have no idea why you would quit gaming in the first place. I'm trying not to get off track in this video, but yeah, basically what I had to do as a next step to quitting gaming after learning to basically become more lonely was to find new hobbies and goals that would overtake my old gaming obsession. So as young men, right, we're driven. We want to find things to do with ourselves, right? We want to find goals that we can kind of conquer, right? And gaming is a very good substitute for real life in that respect. It's very, very tempting to turn to gaming as a means of achieving something, of fulfilling our goals, of finding satisfaction in our effort and getting real rewards for it. Except nothing in gaming is real, and that's the problem with gaming. But that's a separate point. What you have to do at this point is to find new hobbies to overtake your old gaming obsession. So maybe you've heard about going to the gym online. Maybe you started going to the gym, which is awesome, and I recommend that you do that like right now. If you're trying to quit gaming, start lifting weights, start going to the gym, start doing calisthenics, cardio, CrossFit, high rocks, whatever floats your boat and is progressible in terms of exercise, even if that's like long distance running, Olympic weightlifting, whatever. As long as you can see like real progress in it, and it's like a physical activity that's going to improve your physical health, then I'd say go ahead and do it. Maybe it's bodybuilding, whatever. Just definitely start doing that, because what physical activity does for us, especially like weightlifting as young men, is it kind of serves as a substitute to video games in the sense that it's something that you can work very, very hard on, and the harder you work on it, the more effort you put in, the more you're going to get out. The harder you push in the gym, the more sets and reps you put in, the more muscle you're going to make, right? The more you push yourself during your sprint training or your long distance training, the better you're going to perform at that track meet or whatever. And I've done all this, and I've lived all this, and I've experienced all this. I can tell you that doing it like in school or after school, like on my own time, it definitely helps. So yeah, that's just something to think about. But maybe there's other reasons that you got into video games besides wanting to conquer, wanting to level up, wanting to get stuff done. Maybe you're into the lore behind video games. Maybe you're into the gameplay, the graphics, the aesthetics. That's why you enjoy gaming so much. If that's the case, then maybe you want to start. If you're into like the lore, for example, you might want to start reading fantasy books or something like that. I know it sounds kind of weird, like why would I do that? But you have to realize what is making you turn to gaming in the first place. Maybe it's loneliness. Maybe you're just so socially isolated that when you realize that you are alone and that you have no one to talk to, you want to start leveling up your social skills. You want to start getting less awkward and anxious around people. You want to become a better speaker. You want to become more relatable to other people. So maybe you make it your goal to become more sociable, to start dealing with other people more and making friends in real life instead of just online. And that's a noble goal as well. Maybe you want to get into like graphics design. If you like the aesthetics of video games, maybe you want to start doing art and stuff like that. Whatever your motivation is for gaming, this is my point. Whatever your motivation for playing video games is, you want to isolate that. You want to maybe journal about it, write it down, kind of ask yourself, think deeply. Why am I playing gaming? Why am I playing games in the first place? Like what desire is that fulfilling in me? And then realize that desire and kind of carry it out in real life, right? This can be anything from, wanting to build yourself up, wanting to improve yourself, and get status and respect. So instead of grinding Fortnite or whatever games kids play nowadays, you start playing, you start going to the gym instead and trying to increase your bench, increase your squat, increase your deadlift, trying to get stronger, right? Instead of trying to get better at this certain game. But yeah, find new hobbies to overtake your old gaming obsession. By the way, if you want to quit video games for good, you can check out my course in the description. It's a teachable community where it's basically a whole bunch of courses curated by me with all of my expertise, with all of my advice, and actionable steps that'll help you quit video games for good. So if you're interested in overcoming your gaming addiction for good, I guarantee that the course below will help you if you watch all of it and you follow all the instructions. I'll see you there. So the last point for this video is that you have to become comfortable with being alone in this stage of your life. Now that's an uncomfortable point. It's an uncomfortable truth that you're probably going to have to become familiar with if you want to quit gaming for good. Now, quitting gaming is totally worth it. It is totally worth it to suffer for 6 months, a year, 2 years to achieve this kind of result where you have complete freedom from gaming. You no longer have any cravings to play this and that game. You're no longer socially awkward or constantly thinking about gaming. That's taking a toll on your grades and on your social life. Being free from all the complications that come with a gaming addiction is totally worth it in all respects. But the hardest part of not only trying to quit gaming, but also the period that comes after quitting gaming, when you've lost your old gamer friends and you're trying to look for a new group to fit into, a new group to identify with, because that's what we need as human beings, a group that we can identify with, a group that we can fit into, a group that we can call our own and be a part of and contribute to. When you're kind of in between the gaming space and like the new social space that you're looking for, you become very alone. You become very isolated in your journey. So what you want to do is you want to build this skill of being alone. You want to build this skill of being comfortable with being alone and being by yourself. So I realized that the most important part of quitting gaming, and also the period that came after that, was becoming a better friend to myself by having integrity and by staying truthful to myself, instead of molding my identity to fit other people's expectations for me, right? So we live in a very individualistic society. We live in a society that highly prioritizes the individual. That's that idea of having the individual over the group is like thousands of years old. And while that's brought forth things like democracy and social freedoms and all of this cool stuff, we still are more lonely than at any other point. Yeah, we're still more lonely as a society than any other point in history. So while that's kind of a depressing fact, you have to learn to become comfortable with being alone, with being by yourself, especially after you've quit your gaming addiction. And basically becoming a better friend to yourself, being able to be completely open and honest with yourself about your depravities, your shortcomings, the ways that you've hurt yourself in the past. Being able to come to terms with yourself about that stuff and to be honest with yourself instead of just like cursing at yourself internally or being like your own worst enemy. Learning to become your own best friend and your own biggest cheerleader. I know that sounds cringe, but that's the way I'm going to put it. Is, yeah, learning to become comfortable with your own self. That is paramount, I think, to everyone's self-improvement journey, to everyone's journey to become a better person. It's to just become comfortable with yourself and to be nice to yourself before you try and be nice to others and before you try and become comfortable around others. You must focus on yourself, on the internal, before you focus on the external, right? So this ties into quitting gaming because you want to set reasonable goals for yourself. Like, okay, I want to quit video games for 2 weeks. And if I can only quit video games for 2 weeks, which is actually true, if you quit video games for 2 weeks and you don't play for that amount of time, there's a very good chance that you can just quit video games for the rest of your life at that point, given that you don't relapse and like get addicted again at any point in the future, which could happen. And that involves some preparation as well, but that's a separate point. So yeah. Becoming a better friend to yourself by quitting gaming is it's not necessarily an easy journey to be alone. I'm actually quite comfortable with being alone, but I too, of course, have the desire to be social with other people and to try and find a community to fit into. But that's going to be an ongoing process for you if you're just starting to quit gaming. You're just starting to overcome your addiction. You're naturally going to be looking for other groups to fit into. And the last thing you want to do when you're trying to quit gaming is to try and mold your identity to fit other people's expectations for you. You want to be your own person. You want to be authentic to your own values and to your own lifestyle at all times. And this stems from you being authentic in your desire to quit gaming. You have to stay true to yourself. You can't sell your own identity to other people. You can't let other people determine your identity. You can't let other people determine your thought patterns and your habits. Because last time you did that, you probably ended up getting addicted to gaming or some other thing that other people were doing. In order to fit in, you probably just started playing video games along with them. Or you started doing drugs with them, or whatever the bad habit was. You probably just did it so that you could fit in. And trying to fit in with other people is such... This might sound offensive, but it's such like a small brained, like low IQ, just stupid move. Because you have to realize that most people are stupid. Most people are going to screw you over at some point. Most people don't know what you're struggling with. So like I said, listening to them is just a very, very bad idea. And if there's one thing that you walk away from this video with, it's that you have to be your own person and you can't live up to other people's expectations. So you have to have integrity to yourself. You have to keep promises to yourself if you want to become a better friend to yourself. And that involves basically keeping the promises and the goals that you set before yourself when trying to quit gaming. So yeah, that's my message for this video. I think I've what's the analogy? Kicked the dead horse enough, beat the dead horse enough. And yeah, that's it for this video. Subscribe, like if you found this helpful. Leave a comment if you have any comments or questions. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.